Back and bigger than ever, it's the unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Now, here's the entire SoonerScoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is time once again for the unofficial 40 podcast brought to you by MidFirst Bank. Go to midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40. Sign up for the official OU Rewards credit card exclusive to midfirstbank.com. Well, welcome in, everybody. The national championship is now behind us, and I think I would say, I don't know, guys, feel free to chime in here. Do you feel better about OU getting their ass kicked by LSU and just the program in general after seeing what they did to Clemson in the second half?
Don't feel better necessarily. Maybe justify it more. What a just badass football team LSU was. And
They're
I think
really
that
good.
we realized that after the Peach Bowl, and I think we realized that even going into the Peach Bowl of what they were able to accomplish when we were talking about that one day it was like one of the first media opportunities we had out there, Bob, when you basically have Ensminger / the Broyles winner and Joe Brady on the stage next to the Heisman winner, the Blitnikoff winner. Then they switch it out and they bring out their defensive unit, and you have Dave Aranda, who's probably one of the better defense coordinators
that way, yeah.
in the country, next to the Thorpe winner, next to two other guys that are going to go play in the NFL. And then you look at everything that they were able to accomplish throughout the season. It was the definition of a championship storybook. Even if you want to throw in, the tragedy that happened hours before the Peach Bowl, it just was a storybook, feel-good type story. And, I usually try to find the bad in people, and I love Coach O. Go Tigers. I love Joe.
It's not bad, Bob.
I love Burrow. Couldn't think of his name for a minute. I still can't think of his first name. Is it Joe Burrow?
Big
Jesus.
Dick Joe?
Yes, Joe Brady, Joe Burrow.
You love him. You really love him.
I was seconds away from ordering one of those Big Dick Joe hats from Oldro, but I
Do you have to
decided
send in
not
a
to.
DP in order to, purchase that?
I don't.
To
DP's out of
verify
context.
whether you have a BD or not?
I don't know. I don't think so. But regardless, very impressive. I was a little surprised that Trevor Lawrence played as bad as he did Monday night.
And they got hit early. They were up 17-7.
I know.
You thought Clemson better than we all thought. And
Absolutely.
then that spiraled out of control very quickly.
Josh, is the biggest hot take out there right now the living in the moment Joe Burrow has surpassed Trevor Lawrence, or is that a conversation to be had?
I think it's one to be had, and we all know I'm a big Trevor Lawrence guy. I'm
That's why I
one
asked
of the
you.
leaders of the stand group. Yeah,
You're not
but
only a member, you're the president
Yeah, exactly.
of the Trevor
I've
Lawrence
just
fan.
never seen him like that. I've never seen him that rattled. I mean, because there were plays to be made, and he wasn't making them. It wasn't, like LSU's defense was just stifling. I mean, don't get me wrong, they played well, but there were plenty of throws where he could have turned in, created first downs. There were throws that, frankly, didn't look that difficult, and he just couldn't make them. And I've never seen that from Trevor Lawrence. He's always so steady, and when you look on the other side, I saw it 3 straight games: Georgia, Oklahoma, and then this week against Clemson. Joe Burrow, almost regardless of the pressure around him or what he was having to do with his feet, it was like he just never looked troubled. He was always so calm,
And it didn't come
and
easy.
then would just make a throw. Yeah,
He just kind of kept sawing wood or whatever whatever.
Yeah,
And
a couple of those throws he made against Terrell early in the game.
That's what I was
going
gonna
to
say.
Good throws.
I never
Shut up,
thought
got a job, all right?
I never thought AJ was the weak
covered
weak
up rape.
link, and they made him look
not.
bad.
He was not involved in that, Eddie.
That's
He
what
wasn't.
That's what Clay Travis told me.
Oh, God. He was an innocent man that Clay Travis threw into the middle of that. He was never a part of that.
I know. I'm just kidding. We all sat there, Josh, and you probably were thinking the same thing. We got together and watched the game on Monday night, and just those two teams, and you can even throw Ohio State in there, just watching them on television, and maybe I'm just being super critical of Oklahoma, but it just seems like they're playing a little bit of a different sport.
Those hits. Whew.
Violent, fast, everything that you basically want in a football team.
I mean, I felt that way in the Peach Bowl too, though. I mean, OU made strides there this year. There's no doubt about it. Like, the defense,
from what they were 2 years ago.
The last 2 years,
yeah, for sure.
Like, they never hit anybody. They never flew around. Like, this defense actually is doing that now. But, like, LSU is still, and Clemson even, and Ohio State. Like, watching Clemson and Ohio State, like, that was even a different level of defense from both those teams. And maybe that has to do with how good Ohio State's secondary was, but, they still didn't tackle Trevor Lawrence all that well.
A huge part of it is just personnel. I mean, their personnel. I mean, Isaiah Simmons, I'm reading stuff coming out of that game where people are like, he may push Chase Young as the top defensive guy drafted. And I'll state again, Isaiah Simmons is from Olathe, Kansas, and got no sniff from Oklahoma.
I hate to revisit it, but
good thing he's not from Oklahoma.
Is it literally a situation that they just did not recruit him?
Yeah. To my knowledge, I don't even know that they went to evaluate him. And, I mean, you look at some of the guys that Oklahoma offered. I mean, it's the same year as Caleb Kelly, so obviously that's a big hit for Oklahoma. But, I mean, like, guys like Eric Fowler, Curtis Robinson, Michael Divinity, who played well for LSU the other night. Mm-hmm. Another big guy in that class, Bryce Youngquist.
God.
And,
every time that name comes up, it's just like, oh, my God.
This is what we talked about, guys, where Oklahoma would be involved with players like Mike Juarez, the kid that went to UCLA and then left like 2 weeks into school, and I don't think has ever been heard of. The Mbem Bossy kid from Ellenwood, Georgia. Like, you run down the list, and there's all these guys that they were almost certainly never going to get, that they spent all this time on, yet there's a kid in their backyard that's going to be a top 5 pick in a couple months. And it just that's not on the current staff. They don't have to, we can get into some of the good work they're doing at linebacker right now, but it's indicative of what we talked about for several years, where there just wasn't a very realistic idea of what was happening in recruiting sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, and today, of course, the news comes out, and Josh, you might talk about it. Big commitment for the Sooners, and a guy that you've been out to see, tried to see more than you have even as it stands. But you might tell the folks about what's going on with Oklahoma recruiting.
Yeah, this morning got huge news from 2022 linebacker Kobie McKinzie, and I know that seems very early, and it is. I mean, the guy is still midway through his sophomore year of high school. There's a long way to go. I don't want to tell everybody.
Commit to Alabama the week before signing day.
Bagmen are going to show up 2022. But, I mean, everything I understand, and I've talked to his dad a lot. I've talked to Kobie himself a lot. I have a good relationship with his family. As long as Brian Odom is the linebackers coach at Oklahoma, Kobie McKinzie will be going to Oklahoma. Like, I don't have a lot of doubt about that. They like Brian Odom a lot. And I think when Kenneth Murray made those comments after the Peach Bowl about him being the best coach he's ever played for, and it was clearly such an emotional thing for him to not be able to play for Odom anymore. I don't know if that sealed the deal, but that was a very fine point that Kobie McKinzie did not miss. And, you mentioned it, Carey, I tried to go see him during the regular season. Yet again, Houston weather destroyed that trip. But I did drive up to Abilene to see then Oklahoma commitment Jace McClellan take on non-commit Kobie McKinzie, and obviously the tables have turned since. But McKinzie is a guy that is 6'2", 225, 230 as a high school sophomore, runs well, is very physical. He's exactly what you think of when you think of an inside linebacker. He wants to get up. He's going to fill run lanes. He's fast enough to do it. He can play outside the tackles. I mean, I saw him making plays, chasing receivers down 20 yards down the field. He is a big-time athlete that I know, I hate to get into other people's rankings. I believe 24/7 has him as like the number 2 guy in the whole state of Texas for his class. He is a very big deal. And when you add in the potential of maybe getting Gentry Williams, another guy that's going to push maybe for 5 stars in that 2022 class, you start seeing that class could be very, very special if they can pull it all together.
We already have video up of him from your trip up on the board and things like that. But, I mean, the first thing that kind of pops off the page is this guy that is what people are begging for, clamoring for, needing, wanting, everything. Like, that is a size and body that's
your Baron Browning, basically. Like, we all sat and drooed over him, or was it Malik Jefferson? I mean, all the guys that you just drooled over. You said, why can't OU get that guy? Well, now they have one.
And I think it's, kind of what you just insinuated too, Josh, just as far as, like, this is a massive win for Brian Odom. It's a massive win, I think, for Alex Grinch, even Lincoln Riley, because they're being able to go out and sell something and sell what basically Kenneth Murray did in a year under Odom.
Absolutely. And, guys, on the board, they always talk about, Oklahoma's got to get that big, nasty middle linebacker. And the guy they always talk about, we need another Curtis Lofton. That's who Kobie McKinzie reminds me of, like, a lot. From his physical makeup, the way he's put together, like, he's kind of short and stout. Like, I mean, he's longer than Curtis was, but it's so compact. Like, I mean, he's just a powerfully built guy. And really, like Curtis, just has great instincts between the tackles, is going to seize everything he can get his hands on. So I like that comparison a lot. And, I mean, I don't think there's any defense in Oklahoma history that couldn't use a Curtis Lofton in the middle.
If Oklahoma really wants to get into an LSU, Alabama, maybe even Clemson mold, you got to get the kid to move to Norman now. He has to play for Norman North next season.
Now, does he have is one of his parents like a doctor or something like that? I'm thinking of somebody else.
I've really only dealt with
I don't know why
dad,
I would have heard that.
Yeah. No, I don't know of that. But I mean,
isn't his mom an astronaut?
For the listeners that aren't on the board, his dad posted something really nice this morning, kind of talking about just how close, kind of what went into this decision for them. And I can tell you, and, I've taught, his dad is Will Truby. For those that don't know, he is adopted.
Oh, we got eyeballs from Lincoln Riley.
Oh.
Yeah, Kobie. He finally got around to it.
Well, he retweeted Kobie,
right,
and then he sent out eyeballs.
So
about damn time he woke up.
I posted in the little thread, I think the days of every commitment having eyes is done. There'll still be sporadic ones, but I don't think Lincoln is as obsessed with it as he was maybe a year or two ago.
He's become complacent.
Bob's reporting that he has 1 foot out the door headed to the NFL.
It's a good thing the Browns
shit in the NFL.
It's a good thing the Browns have hired their guy.
He didn't do Chandler Morris, Joshua Eaton. He didn't do this one. It's not a big deal.
So then these eyeballs are for somebody else then?
Well, it's a late eyeball. He's done that before where he's gone back to someone who just committed.
Really? I don't remember that, Bob. You're our eyes expert. I do not doubt you. Your memory is better on these things.
He has done that before where someone would make a public announcement and then 20 minutes later he would put the eyes up.
Huh. Okay. That is I'm glad I'm hearing this.
Bob is the eye expert. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, no, he is. I was messaging people.
Bob.
I'm like, who the hell? What's going on here?
Now that was for the we're talking.
You should start a Facebook group like the don't bleep with cats people. You can investigate every eyeball that comes out and get a group think tank going and eventually chase Lincoln Riley down. If he's, killing gay Asians.
Wow.
Nobody's seen
that took a turn.
Nobody else has seen it?
I have not watched it yet, no.
Josh, you haven't seen it? Don't bleep with cats?
I have seen Don't with Cats. That's crazy stuff.
Every time that I've thought about watching it, I basically talk myself out of it. It just looks so damn weird. I don't know if I'm ready to handle something
It's
like that.
not. Here's the thing, though. Wouldn't you agree, though, Josh? You don't have to worry about seeing anything that's grisly or just horrific.
No.
I mean,
they just kind of allude to it.
They do show cats in a refrigerator at one point that he's killed, but it's not all bloody and gory and...
Mm-mm.
It's like
There's
seeing
nothing
roadkill.
That would turn your stomach. It's just your mind is going to do worse thing than your eyes are.
Just
I mean,
shocking.
they have. I mean, the guy actually did post the video of him killing someone, but they don't show it. They kind of show it, but they don't show you anything gruesome. So if that's what you're worried about, you don't have to worry about that.
I thought it was. I don't know what I thought it was. It was just so damn weird that I've been like, I don't know if I need to watch this right now. There's something else.
Luca Magnotta is the guy's name.
He
Weirdo.
I mean, he's bizarre, but the people and the levels they go to tracking him down is.
So you have a problem with the people, the Facebook
no,
group?
like I don't mind.
No, I mean, I'm not saying it
them.
to be funny. Like I can see how people are like those people are disturbing. Like.
Yeah, like when the mom like tried to call them out, I was like, I don't have a problem. Like they probably are the reason that dude got caught. I don't have a huge issue with
there's
that.
no doubt.
Spoiler.
Well, I mean,
Yes, he got caught. He fucked with cats.
yeah,
and he
that's
shouldn't
not
have.
going to ruin the documentary for you. I'm telling you right now. I mean, anyway, I didn't mean this to be a review, but Josh, I also wanted to tell you because you mentioned another rival network and you've used an F-bomb. You're going to be walking outside and seeing a barnacle on your car, on your windshield. We have.
I'm an old on the barnacle.
SoonerScoop has stepped in. There was a fire sale on all barnacle gear.
We bought them all?
We bought all the barnacles, so we're just going to start using them as a way to control Eddie and to keep Josh from mentioning other recruiting networks.
I love the barnacle because there's so many things that had to happen.
That was the dumbest thing.
Bob, I bet you asked a lot of questions in class, didn't you?
How many outstanding tickets do you have to be towed?
I mean, I had a lot.
I would think it's a lot. I actually don't know the
I
number.
think it was 3. What it was is you had to have you got a notice after 30 days of your third outstanding ticket, and then the 90 days. You had
That's a whole lot of time.
Up to 90 days to pay it all off, or you got your car barnacled. But
That's a lot of time.
I do love how things were coming. By the way, the video for it,
Oh boy,
that was produced by the parking. I don't know, what would you call it, the parking authority? Yeah. People rightfully pointed out that the guy installing the barnacle looked just like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
He kind of did. Eddie, you got anything on that topic?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I got you.
He did not. That's another thing.
Didn't even register with me.
When
But I'm
Eddie,
just excited.
when we uncover something that Eddie has seen that is of social significance, we're shocked.
I thought the 48 hours on Casey Anthony
See, it
was tremendous.
It doesn't surprise me that you've watched that.
I've watched everything that involves Casey Anthony. I know everything about that and baby Kaylee.
Now, what I'm excited about is that we were able to bring George Stoya and Woody Womack together.
My God,
Nice.
Woody had a meltdown.
Woody
over
went
that,
nuts.
didn't
What was
he?
Woody so Woody was so triggered? I was
Woody
like,
was
Jesus.
so mad. We should just invite him on the podcast right now
To talk about
And
it.
Woody's in Hawaii.
Oh my gosh.
What's he mad about?
What's he doing? Oh, is he at the Polynesian Bowl?
Yep. He's out there covering it.
Yeah. So why are you mad at anything?
I'm like 3 years away from the girls being old enough that I'm like, boy, I really need to cover that Poly Bowl. We're gonna have to get out there.
Yeah. If
I think-
rivals will pay for it.
I think we've had this discussion before. I'm of the opinion, and I know that we have a couple scoopers out in Hawaii. I'm of the opinion, and I've heard Hawaii's trash.
The state.
Just kind of everything about it.
Woo.
Like,
run down.
sure, the beach is great, and like Kapalua is awesome, but
the golf
where you
course.
get your way into like Honolulu, not gonna really like what you see. But I guess you don't really go.
I think all the
you
people
don't go
that
to
are-
Hawaii to go to Honolulu.
I think
mean,
all the people that are buying houses on Maui would disagree with you.
yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like I know
Yeah.
Gabe goes out there a bunch, and that part looks awesome.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But
I'm
but
sure
I guess there's also an argument
Lubbock
that
has a bad part of a seedy part of town.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like you don't go to. I'm trying to think of a good example, but you don't go to the West Coast to hang out in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah, it's
You know what I mean?
kinda
Like
gross.
the gross part of it.
Yeah, or the transit tunnels.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, everywhere in California has tent
Listen,
cities.
I'm not
now.
going to turn down an opportunity to go to Hawaii. I guess I should restate that.
Okay.
Yeah, this might not be the mountain you want to die
But
on.
if I'm going to be paying for a vacation somewhere, there's a lot of other places I'd rather go.
But you're going to be in a resort. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
we all know
Eddie-
there's some gross parts of Fort Lauderdale, but when you stay at a resort, you don't have to worry about all that stuff.
And there's no question there's other places I'd rather go, but I have kids, so I have to level it with what can I entertain them with, and I'm not going to want to die.
They have daycares in
So-
Cabo.
So true, but I mean,
They
there's
also-
a lot of The
daycares are also probably targeted by the
exactly. There's a
the,
lot of background vetting on that.
yeah. They're probably that's probably partially where
Is that along the child abduction superhighway or
Yeah, you're taking your chances, I'm sure.
yeah? Especially with two little girls. I mean, that's really not prime real
Josh,
estate or anything.
just prepare yourself that you're going to spend most of your summers in Orlando from now until eternity.
God, no. No, I'm like, we can go again in like 4 years when Layla actually hasn't any idea what's happening. But until then, there'll be no future trips.
Okay, so we had the national championship. We did our big survey, and I will say this. I know it's premium on the website. I'll release that here so everybody can read it. So if you listen to the podcast, you're not a subscriber, you can kind of get our thoughts. But we all went in and ranked. We didn't make it. We didn't want to just say recruiting. We didn't want to make it. So what it was our thoughts on where OU needs to get better in certain areas in order to become national champions. And the areas of emphasis that we put were player development, faculty and administration, coaching, conference affiliation, and facilities. And then we all ranked them. Player development was, pretty much unquestioned the number one with everybody except for Josh. And I don't know why that was.
Come on, Josh. Speak up.
I really don't. The player development, like, I get it from a perspective of what's been happening, but I don't see that right now. Like, a lot of the areas where you had problems were all on the defense. Kenneth Murray showed explosive growth this year. Parnell Motley showed great growth. Turner Yell at times looked like a difference maker at safety. I mean, I think they have the pieces in place for that to grow, but I get where you guys are coming from. Like, you're taking on a very small sample size in the way I looked at it. But I think going forward, player development's going to be fine. I don't think that's going to be their problem, but I get when you look over the last 4 or 5 years, it's been a huge, catastrophic issue.
And I'd also say that, in a way, you could probably also argue that doesn't development go under the coaching category? So I kind of struggled with where to rank both of those.
I mean, yeah, and maybe I should have clarified a little bit. To me, coaching was, with me including player development, coaching was basically game day.
Yeah, okay.
And then player development was everything, practices leading up to the game.
And I think that you could say that they, in a way, go hand in hand, don't
and
they?
really, player evaluations, it's not really player development, but I think in my own mind,
Same umbrella.
like I kind of thought of evaluations, recruiting evaluations, scouting as part of player development.
That's fair. That makes sense.
We didn't really have a real long discussion about the nuances of every category, unfortunately.
I think that the facility thing is an interesting conversation. It's like
Which I
it
rank
doesn't
high.
it doesn't
I think
become
higher than anybody
I don't
else.
think facilities become a problem until they are.
Yeah.
Type thing.
No,
like,
you're right.
Like, oh, you right now I would say the Switzer Center's a nice setup. I mean, the practice facility kind of a little bit hamstrung just because you don't have a lot of
It's
room
not
to
a
go.
great situation.
No, it
I mean,
really isn't. But
you're still practicing for the most part either in the middle of Jacobs,
yeah.
the track and field, or you're out at the rugby fields.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that is Lincoln worried about people being able to spy or not having enough room down there to run 2 practices at once. But I mean, the practice fields don't get used anymore.
No, they really don't. Not the
They'll
practice
practice
fields.
in the stadium.
What people have become to
Yeah.
know as the practice fields
Right.
behind the south end zone. It is
And I don't know
weird.
how
like,
you fix that. I mean,
during
there's
the
no way to fix it.
I don't know if a lot of people know, but during the season on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think they go practice at the rugby fields down south of campus over by the Lloyd Noble Center.
That's what the Bushes told Eddie, anyway.
I mean, you can see him. You can't hide. You can't hide over there, Lincoln.
Which is weird because you think they'd want to hide, and yeah, you can't hide there.
I know. That's why and there's a lot of question marks on what's going on. You can drive by. I mean, now you drive by 35 times with a camera hanging out the window, they might say something, but that's why you got to park across the street of the apartments.
And that's the thing. It's like I didn't really think about practice fields kind of in my facilities things. I mean, I just know that when they built the Switzer Center, the new South End Zone, Lincoln had stated this is gonna be really nice, and then we'll have to kind of evaluate it and see what changes we want to make, over the years, and they've done a good job, making it something that highlights the program, highlights the accomplishments. They've got the players in the NFL section that now they update with the jerseys and everything. It's a nice, blend of marketing and function, I think, for the football program. But at the same time, for me, the health of the program also goes to the fans. And I think if I'm a fan right now and I'm a season ticket holder, I mean, it's clear, guys, we've had the discussion. Fans are as down as they've ever been as being, on the Big 12 conference as a whole.
Sure. I think that is kind of valid in a way. I mean, Oklahoma's doing its part to an extent.
4 years now of seeing that schedule come out and seeing what your home slate is like, and you can still remember when Nebraska and Colorado and Missouri and Texas A&M were part of that, when they would come into town, and now that's being replaced by TCU and Baylor and Kansas and that's the best you can do. So every year when the schedule comes out or your season tickets come in, you're reminded, oh crap, this conference isn't that great anymore.
I think that it's a fascinating conversation to have, because I think that you look at, say the SEC, and that's the obvious example out there.
Because nobody's going to join the Pac-12 right now.
No,
with their TV stuff hanging over them
but
like it is.
I think because it would be something new. I don't think there's much of a difference than going to Lexington or Starkville over Fort Worth, like a good TCU team. And they've been down the last couple of years. I don't think there's any way around that. But at the same time, I do think, I keep going back and forth. I think that there's merit to the idea of moving, which I know is not going to happen in any time in the future. In regards to the next couple of years. But I also
2025, I think, is the.
I think we would all agree though that if they were in the SEC, if that even gives you a 1% chance of staying in somebody's home and getting a 5-star, even one during a cycle, I think it'd be probably worth it. But the other side of the argument is Oklahoma has it pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, the Big 12 has been very good and that was my argument with a lot of people.
Yep.
The conference has put them in the playoffs, almost every year.
Yeah.
So being in this, I know that there's not a lot of cachet that goes with it, and you get tired of getting beat down by the SEC and the NFL draft every year, but the Big 12 has done as much for OU as any other conference is going to do.
And the narrative is faulty because they're like, the Big 12 sucks, so OU isn't ready. Well, then blow them out and be ready.
Yeah.
Do what Clemson has done. If your conference is that terrible, win by 20 points and be ready for the college football playoff. Don't be winning 42-41, 28-24 at home against much lesser teams.
Against TCU.
Yeah.
I mean, struggle against and Iowa State, let them back into the game to where you have to intercept a pass in the end zone to win. I mean,
I think the argument that the Big 12 doesn't prepare Oklahoma, or when you look at Oklahoma and the way that they played on the national stage in the college football playoffs, it is very much a scapegoat and a coping mechanism that makes people makes themselves in a way feel better. Yeah, that Oklahoma has shit on themselves in college football playoffs. There's no way around it, and there's only
they
one
just
way.
Haven't been good enough.
There's only one way to turn it around, and that's by winning those games and getting better. And I think that's why when you look at the grand scheme of things, they are headed in the right direction. I do think that they are recruiting at a level. Now it's not top 5 yet, but I think that they're headed that direction. Look at the Kobie McKinzie commitment today. Those are signs that things are changing, I would say. Would you agree with that, Josh? I don't think 3 years ago they get a commitment from a Kobie McKinzie this morning.
Oh, absolutely not.
And I know that's like
no
kind
question.
of current event type thing. Like it makes for a good example, but it kind of is what it is.
To me, Clemson is the school that blows up the whole defense of, well, you can't win it all in a crappy conference. How is Clemson doing it then? The ACC is clearly worse than the Big 12 was. Even this year, which wasn't a particularly great year for Big 12 football, it was miles better than what they were playing in the ACC.
You had several decent teams in the Big 12. You had maybe two in the ACC.
Yep.
And it's hard to find that second one.
Are they geographically advantaged in a way that Oklahoma is not? Just they can go into an Atlanta and say, we're an hour and a half down the road.
Sure. I mean, there are advantages, but at the same time, people have gotten it into their head. And don't get me wrong, the best talent in the country is in the lower southeast. There's no question.
Sure.
You cannot convince me that you can't win national titles built largely on Texas talent. I mean, look at that class from 2017. Jeff Okudah is going to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah. Marvin
Wilson's coming back, is almost certainly going to be a first-round pick next year. Walker Little from the same high school is going to be a first-round pick. Like, you go down that list, there are – and that's just one class. I mean, you get into Jalen Waddle, you get into Kenneth Murray from that same group is a first-round pick. Guys, somebody brought this up the other day, and I think it's an incredibly good point. What would you have done if I would have told you on signing day that Kenneth Murray was going to be a first-round pick and Jacob Phillips probably was not?
Yeah.
I mean, like, there is lots of talent in Texas, and people are getting it in their head that, oh, you can't win with that. No, you just have to go down there and win in the recruiting battles, and Oklahoma, frankly, hasn't done enough of that. They're not making big enough of an imprint there.
Did you guys watch Texas A&M play Oklahoma State in the bowl game?
We had the media party that night, so it was on. But
we saw the second half.
Yeah, basically
kinda.
The second half.
Yeah.
Josh, I watched that game, and basically it was me looking at the screen and A&M's defensive players going, holy shit, look at that guy. Holy shit, look at that guy. Oh, shit, look at that guy. Like, there is so much ridiculous talent on that Texas A&M team. It's mind-blowing.
You're absolutely right. They've done I mean, because people love to make it about Jimbo. Kevin Sumlin was recruiting really well before his last year when, it was kind of clear he was in trouble. Like, they've done the Justin Matabuke kid was a huge recruit. Bobby Brown was a huge recruit. I mean, Anthony Hines had, his never-ending collection of 177 offers or whatever he always did. Leon O'Neal is a starting safety for them that OU wanted down the stretch. So, I mean, there are a lot of guys but like I said, I mean, I just don't think Oklahoma did a good enough job, not just in Texas, but like you look at it over the early 2010s, the two areas that Oklahoma is always going to, did a good job recruiting. One is Texas, like always. They've always worked hard in there. And then the other is California. And that's where, like we talked about with Viney stuff last week, Oklahoma's got to find a way back into California. They're not winning enough recruits out there like they always have, and that's been a big piece of some of their really, you look at Kenny Stills, you look at Tony Jefferson. Some of the guys that were some of their more standout players were California guys that they went in, nobody gave them a chance for, and they found a way. Joe Mixon being another great example.
Well, Josh, they've
got to get there.
Could it be a trade-off with the way they're recruiting the East Coast?
There's something to that. I mean, and you're right, Bob. Like, you can, and you guys know, we get in this argument all the time where people are like, well, you got to get Texas. And I sound like I'm one of those guys right now. You've got to replace the talent somewhere. And a lot of and you're right, a lot of the same caliber of talent they used to get in California, they're now starting to get into in D.C., and we can get into a little bit of the Caleb Williams situation, which that had an interesting turn over the last 24 hours. So I think that makes some sense. But, I mean, the bottom line is a lot of Oklahoma's bread is going to be buttered in Texas. Like, their team is going to go often as well as they're recruiting in Texas. And a couple years ago, I mean, you've had some big guys. We talked about Kenneth Murray already, Theo Weiss, Trajan Bridges. They've landed some elite guys, but I don't think they've done enough of getting that top 10 to 25 guy in Texas. There probably haven't been enough of those guys that are really the guys that are the all-conference. They may not be the superstars, but they are the guys that really build the core of your team.
Okay, I want to get to some more of talking about the survey and stuff, and we were talking about facilities and other things that went into that, come on some of our thoughts. But I want to remind you guys, this podcast is presented by our title sponsor, MidFirst Bank. I want you guys to go check out midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40. There you can sign up for the OU Rewards credit card. They are the exclusive partner with the University of Oklahoma and their credit card provider. You can redeem points for OU fan gear. And even though you won't have to pay for parking, well, you do still have to pay for parking. You won't have to pay to have the barnacle removed from your student's car, but you can use your OU Rewards credit card to pay off student bursar accounts and use your rewards to do that as well. So if you go into a participating banking center right now, if you're here in Oklahoma, you can receive a free Bluetooth speaker when you apply in person, and they've got a low introductory rate for the first 12 months. So go online, midfirst.com/U40, hit the Apply Now button, sign up for that OU Rewards credit card. Thanks to MidFirst Bank for being our title sponsor of the unofficial 40. Well, one thing, guys, that I was going to say just about the Big 12 Conference, and we kind of got into that discussion. You know, the West Side stands, it's not going to make OU any better.
It won't.
It's not.
No.
It's not going to help them compete for a national championship. But I don't know. I almost think it's important just from the fan morale standpoint. It's just like, you know, they're sick of the conference. They see the schedule every year. People got really geeked up when they saw the South End Zone and it being finished, and people were proud of that. And then they go in and they sit and they look at that old press box in the West Stands, and it just drives people crazy. Like if I was a season ticket holder, and you know, I don't care about, you know, having better seats in the press box. I don't care about being in the corner. We're all used to that. You know, wherever we go now, and you know, it's not going to make or break OU football if Joe C gets some extra suites. I just think it's one of those things, like you walk into that stadium, and we walk in on the west side every day. You see all the concrete pillars, and they've tried to dress it up with all the All-Americans over the year, but it's kind of a depressing place to go in. Like, it just is. Like, I think it would be, and I know we're talking a lot of money. I mean, that would be, let's see, they spent like was it 180 on the South end zone, or was it more like 120? I can't even remember now.
Because they changed it and adjusted it so much.
Yeah,
maybe it hovered around like 160 when it was all said and done.
I think it was over $300 million was the whole cost of the renovation when they released that master plan. So you're talking another $150 million.
Win a national championship, I think. Well, we wouldn't be surprised, but I think people would be surprised how quickly money funnels into the program.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. And I was talking about with you guys about doing something. Just kind of us surveying the fans on some of these issues. And I think we're going to be doing that here pretty soon. So look out for that on SoonerScoop.com. But I don't know. That was my only point. I mean, if you finish off the stadium, it gives people a sense of pride. It keeps things from getting stale. It's just, to me, there's so much focus on recruiting with the staff that Lincoln Riley's put together. The creative stuff that they do, I don't really see a lot of outreach for the fans. And I know I'm not like a Sooner Club member, so I don't know what they're doing for the fans that have season tickets and what kind of stuff they go throughout the year. But I don't know. I think you're always in danger of kind of becoming stale with the fans.
No, and I think that is something that you kind of introduce.
Your parents are season ticket holders. Yeah, so I don't know how they feel.
Well, and I mean they're gonna buy their season tickets because that's just what they enjoy doing. Like, you know, the kids are out of the house now. They go to OU sporting events. They go to Thunder events. But I think as a whole, and particularly with people from my demographic that are, you know, they have children now. You know, kids are 2-3 years old, and you really kind of got to make a commitment if you're going to go to those types of games now, whether you get babysitters or you're going to have to get an extra ticket for one of the kids or whatever. I think it's a very interesting time for fans because, and particularly Oklahoma fans, because I think there's a lot of sentiment out there that they're sick of getting embarrassed in a way on the big stage.
Yeah.
And then you add in oh, well, you got 6 Saturdays of fall. You want to come down and see Iowa State or Missouri
Baylor.
State?
Missouri State this year coming up. Yeah.
If they have to have Bobby Petrino come out on a
Motorcycle.
That would be
Did they have to have
awesome.
the brace too? Neck brace?
Yes.
Maybe what they should do.
Lincoln Riley should wear a neck brace.
What they should do is pretend like they didn't set it up, but somehow Top Dog sneaks out onto the field
With a
riding
neck
a
brace?
motorcycle and a neck brace. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. But I do think that like it's not a tough product to sell in a way, but
No,
it's a
no.
tough product for people to they're going to watch it regardless, whether they be at home or wherever. There's just a want, and I think a little bit of it too is probably that we've talked about it before. The fan base is a little spoiled in that they've won 5 Big 12 championships, and I would say
It's like Kansas basketball fans right
yeah,
now.
like 45% of the fan base kind of sticks their nose up at it and says that's expected. We won a national championship, which I completely understand. But at the same time, you have to have some type of, I guess, passion in a way that you draw people out, get people out to your stadium to watch or to travel. And, I'm not saying that Oklahoma is just hurting right now. I think that's far from the case, but there is a need to get over that hump. And I think the longer it goes, the more the pressure is going to build, because right now, Oklahoma, this is the longest drought they've had in modern history from a national championship, is it not?
Yeah, it is. And, the other thing I think it's important for, like, not just OU, for us to realize, like, and Josh, you could speak to this too. It's like you get all these people that are still lost in, like, why does anybody going to a game give a shit about Marcus Dupree being somewhere? Like, oh, come out and see Marcus Dupree. Like, OU football has had so much football happen, and you keep bringing back all these. Let's bring the Boz in here. I mean, like Roy Williams is an old guy now. Like, and he does, like, I don't understand. Like, you have guys like Sam Bradford that's just never been a public figure, and Baker's in the league, Kyler's in the league, but Trent Williams is a guy. I mean, like Adrian Peterson, he's been in the league, but he's going to retire. Like, they're always trying to do these attractions and stuff, but it's always with these old bastards. I mean, not to be disrespectful because they're Sooner legends, but
well, and in a way, I guess they justify it by it's hard to get a Baker Mayfield back because he has a game on Sunday. It's hard to get a Kyler Murray
and Jason
back.
White's not a public guy either.
Yeah. And I think for the most part, though, Josh, they do a good job of getting guys back. It's just tough during the season.
Sure. And you understand that. But, I mean, you do wonder at times, like, okay, we're going to do something. Who has an off week on this Saturday where we're hosting, as Bob Stoops used to say, East Popcorn State? Like, how do we drum up a little excitement? Oh, the Cardinals don't have a game. Maybe we can fly Kyler in.
And pay him
we'll
something,
put him up. We'll make it worth his while to be around. I mean, I'm not saying that's always going to work out, but it seems like it's something you could think out. To put it in perspective, guys, I'm almost 40. I don't remember Brian Bosworth playing football. Like, I don't remember him for the Seahawks.
I was a little kid when he was playing, yeah. I mean...
Yeah, like, and so to expect, like, anybody under the age of 30 to get, like, jacked up about Brian Bosworth, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that have been so inundated their whole life with Brian Bosworth is literally the greatest linebacker that ever played football in the history of football. But most people are just like, oh, yeah, that's the guy with the hair. Like, I mean, it's not a big deal, and that's not a shot at him. It's just it's been 35 years since he played football.
Will somebody tell that to Tony Casillas?
We wanted this to be a surprise. Come on in, Tony.
Yeah, Tony Casillas still thinks they just quit playing yesterday, I think. He is still mad at Brian Bosworth. My God.
I thought they made up on the Switzer 50-year anniversary or whatever.
No?
Was that not on that video? What was that video series that they put out maybe in the early 2000s? They got all those players back together.
No, now Bosworth apologized and started crying.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I was thinking it. Okay, never mind.
It was Bosworth that, like, you
saw
fell
the
on
tweet
his
Monday.
sword.
Yeah, what a loser. Tony Casillas, not Brian Bosworth.
What was the tweet again?
He was the 12th man for the 12 games he played.
12 games he played in the NFL, yeah. I can't wait until he starts taking shots at Fansville.
I don't know if there's
Maybe
more-
he's big fan. Maybe Tony Casillas is that big
would've been
fan.
funny.
Oh
that
God,
would've
that'd be
been it.
amazing.
I don't know if there's a player that is less liked than
He's a douche. I know people
Tony
that.
Casillas.
Well,
that
you remember
have worked with
he
him.
ran down Trajan Bridges when we saw him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's
I
just,
forgot about
he
that.
He can't help himself. He's a giant douchebag. Yeah. And I don't think he's all there mentally either.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, and it's just, it'll come out of nowhere. You're like, wait, why are you mad at, like, why is this why? We all know you don't like him. You don't have to bring this up every 6 months.
You
just to
make us
kinda-
defend Brian Bosworth, the guy that you hate and literally doesn't need to be defended because he's kind of douchey too, but Tony Casillas, you make us defend Brian Bosworth. That's what you're doing with your life right now. I mean, if you watch that 30 for 30 and how fake that is, him and his, what's this camera crew doing in this dusty old storage facility? And why is it so well lit?
Oh,
I
why is there
remember-
backlighting.
I got away from the Bosworth conversation because I got into it one time on the board like 10 years ago, and I was like, I don't understand the fascination, and everybody lost their damn mind. Like I had just insulted the Pope or something. It's crazy.
He's royalty.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's definitely he's on the. I don't know about the
Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore of OU football overall. We'll have to wait until May.
Well, if you do the
Mount
OU
Rushmore
football
season
of
comes in.
fan admiration, he's
for
definitely
sure,
on
him
there.
and Baker's face
Right.
are 1A, 1B.
And I think Billy Sims is on there.
Yeah.
And Barry Switzer.
AD.
Hey, I had a rat tail as
Fan
a kid because of
admiration.
him. Like I'm not trying to pretend.
Because I think there has to be two Mount Rushmores. One, Oklahoma football like as a whole, and then the other one, and Boz might be on it, but fan admiration would be like the secondary one, and he'd probably be 1A on that
Sure.
one.
Baker, Boz.
Here's the thing, though. Are we seeing the best pro careers in history in this modern era?
Yeah.
The Bob
Oh,
Stoops era?
absolutely.
This is starting to look good. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
you talk about all these great players in the past, like Billy Sims was cut short by injury. Bosworth didn't play much. Like all the greatest players, Casillas had a great career, obviously, but you can't really. Can you count on one hand?
It's hard.
I mean, like you think of
Ricky
Tommy
Dixon.
Tommy McDonald was a great professional football player in the
Yeah.
Pro Football Hall of Fame, but yeah, Ricky Dixon was an All-Pro guy. But like, how many All-Pros?
Well, AD.
But I'm talking about old time.
Like before 90s.
like Switzer type
Okay.
players.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would have to think so.
Like now you've got AD, Trent Williams, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray,
GK.
Gerald McCoy,
Lane
Johnson. Like these are guys that are the best in the league at their
Absolutely.
positions.
Absolutely.
We've never seen this before.
We're just
with
trying to
OU
think
football.
I guess the Selmans
Yeah,
would they have been?
definitely. Well, Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Leroy.
And you've got CeeDee Lamb about to join the ranks,
Right.
and I mean,
You look at what
I
Brown
don't-
and Andrews are doing.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
it's-
I mean, Andrews is a top 10 tight end in the league right now.
You watch Red Zone or whatever on a Sunday here last couple weeks. It was like touchdown Hollywood, touchdown Joe Mixon, touchdown Mark Andrews,
Touchdown Damian Williams. Touchdown Blake Bell.
touchdown Blake Bell. Like there's a ton of. I would say the Oklahoma footprint in the NFL right now is for sure
the
stronger
strongest
than
it's
ever.
ever been.
Yes,
Yeah. Yep.
and I think
Yep.
it's only going to get stronger as guys like Bobby Evans started at the end of the season for the Rams.
Yeah.
Obo was getting
Cody
in at the
Ford
end
was
of the year.
starting all
Cody
year.
Ford was playing a lot. It's
That was
and
a
I think
strange.
he had surgery.
Yeah, I
Yes.
just saw that.
Yeah.
I guess it looked like labrum probably or something. It looked like his right shoulder.
Yeah, that was. I
Could
didn't know
be
he
a
was. I didn't know that
pectoral.
was going on.
Well, kind of. It's more impressive that he, actually did. I mean, he didn't do great against Watt the whole time, but he held his own at times.
Yeah, he gave up a couple plays, but there were other couple plays that like he was the highlight.
Yeah.
and they Cody Ford against J.J. Watt over here, and I'm sure it was because it was Watt on that side. But
Yeah.
he's gonna have I think Cody Ford will have a very long NFL career. Just
Yep.
to me, it was on the sidelines with the Vikings. I think he was he more.
He and Ben Powers have been on the sidelines.
Were they
most of the
IR
year.
or were
I
they
don't know
just
if they were
practice squad
inactive or
guys?
not. Yeah.
God, have we even mentioned Orlando Brown?
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean,
started from
who's-
day one after
Yeah.
One of the worst combines in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to, like, in a couple years, he might be in that Pro Bowl conversation. I mean, he's that kind of guy. So,
and then you look at this year, you're getting away from having the bulk of your draft picks be 5th through the 7th round.
Yeah.
When you're talking about CeeDee Lamb, Kenneth Murray, Neville Gallimore, you're getting back to that 1st and 2nd round for all your top guys, and you can brag on that instead of just saying we had this many guys picked. Oh yeah, they were actually like in the 6th or 7th round.
You know, a guy that played a lot this year that made quite a few plays that I think just the average Oklahoma fan wouldn't even know was in the NFL. Stephen Parker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Obo is not far from becoming a fixture for
every
the Rams.
down guy type guy for the Rams.
So yeah, I mean, it's been impressive, and it's probably not going to slow down. I'm sorry, Josh.
I think so. You've got to think it's going to get better because basically everybody in the NFL is trying to emulate what Lincoln Riley is doing. So it's not like they're, you mentioned Billy Sims and all those guys. Oklahoma was running a offense that had no business in the NFL and in that era.
Right, yeah.
And then those guys would go and have to kind of relearn everything. Well, now just boom, plug and play, and you're ready to go. And, I mean, you've got to think that's an easy sales pitch. You've got better quarterback talent coming in than what you put out. I mean, I guess you could argue Rattler and Kyler Murray if you want to. But, I mean, there is better and better skill talent coming in every year.
Can you imagine in this day and age going into the NFL, never having to pick up a blitzer or pass block if you're a running back? Like, that's exactly what OU running backs faced in the 70s.
Different
They've
world.
Never had to do that stuff.
Different world, I would have to imagine. Like, what? We don't do that. I don't do that.
By the way, we didn't bring this up, but Joe Brady is leaving LSU. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what they end up doing there. And I've been putting this out on Twitter. I'm just baffled. Like, when you get a great offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, it's like, by the way, Washington, they have hired Hawaii's coach. So
Washington State.
Yes. Washington State has hired Hawaii's coach. So you no longer have to worry about Alex Grinch. He's a mean-looking dude.
He's a funny guy, though. Like he's active on Twitter. He takes shots at people on Twitter. He's kind of a little bit of a free spirit, a little bit like Leach. And I think that you kind of have to be that type of guy if you're going to be working in Pullman.
But it's like you get a great offensive coordinator, and it's only a matter of time before you lose him. He's going to get a head coaching job. And OU's been in that position so many times, and we all knew that that's how it was going to be, like with Kevin Wilson. And eventually, he interviewed for like the Southern Miss job and the Iowa State job, and there were some others that came, and then he eventually got the Indiana job. And that whole time, he was getting frustrated because people like Kevin Sumlin, who weren't even the play callers, were getting jobs. And I just wonder, like, Kevin Sumlin's sitting there at Ohio State. He's not really the offensive coordinator. Kevin Wilson is sitting there at Ohio State. He's not really the offensive coordinator. Like, how brilliant of a move would it be for LSU to go and hire Kevin Wilson?
It'd be genius. We talked about this a little bit before the game last night. I think that this is going to sound really bad, but I'm very interested to see, and it kind of goes back to what we originally thought when Ed O was hired. I don't necessarily think he's the best coach in the country, and I know that kind of goes against the grain of thinking after they win the national championship. But the smart thing that he did was surround himself with some of the best, obviously the best play callers.
Dave Aranda makes like $2.5 million a year.
The best offense coordinator, the best defense coordinator in the country.
Yeah,
and I think that's where this LSU team probably fell back on, was they got great coaching from every position, which I maybe lead into Oklahoma's staff. But
and Dabo's doing the same thing at Clemson.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Brent Venables, Jeff Scott, I guess he just took the job at South Florida. But I'm very intrigued to see if LSU can keep this thing going, and if they get involved in the Derek King sweepstakes, possibly. Like, is Miles Brennan going to be the guy next year? How do you follow up 60 touchdowns in a year and what Joe Burrow did?
Here's my question with the whole Derek King thing. Did you guys see the Mike Gundy,
Heard
Gary
about
Patterson
it.
thing?
Heard about it.
It was I thought that was interesting.
It makes me think.
I mean, that's what. Go ahead.
It makes me think that Gary Patterson is not only paranoid, he's also a little crazy.
Oh, I think he's olds.
And he's very out of touch.
Absolutely.
Like, that was such a woe is me, the sky is falling, can you believe this bullshit? Like, before you even knew what was really going to happen.
And for people that I guess haven't seen it or heard it,
I can find it real quick.
They were doing the coaches. I keep wanting to call it the coaches cabana, but what
the mega cast.
The mega cast and the coaching part. They had who was it? Derek Mason, Gary Patterson, and Mike Gundy. And when the Derek King news broke that he had entered into the transfer portal, basically Gary Patterson turned to Mike Gundy and said, "Did you see who's in the portal?" Mike Gundy says, "Yeah. Oh, there's another one." And then he basically said something to the effect of, "Guess where he's going to end up?" Or something like that. Is that kind of along the lines?
Yep. He's like, I'll tell you during the break.
It was basically insinuating, oh, he's going to end up in Oklahoma. He's going to end up in Norman. Like, this fucking Lincoln guy can't even recruit his own goddamn quarterbacks. It's basically what he was what he was
that's exactly
saying.
What was going on.
Now,
well, they tried Delton and didn't work, so he doesn't know how to go that route either.
Maybe he's just butthurt about it. Can we go ahead and nip this in the bud and say, I don't think that there's any way that Derek King ends up in Norman?
Here it is.
The screen.
Remind me to show you something. Somebody that went in the portal. Guess where he's going to end up? I'm going to show you.
We got another portal tonight?
When we go to break, I'm going to show you something.
Oh, they're targeting on 47.
So, yeah. I mean, that just screams olds. You're right.
Hey, can I sidebar real quick and say that I thought Mike Gundy was awesome.
I didn't see it
on
because
some. Just I've only seen the highlights and the outtakes of it, but I thought he was excellent. I mean, they all called the touchdown pass on the inside slot. Slot. I think it was like a slant fade or something, but they all called it. They're like, yeah, it's coming right here. And they ran the damn play.
Those guys are smart.
Anyways, Derek King's not coming to Oklahoma. I don't even think that there's interest on the Oklahoma side of it.
No, it's Spencer Rattler's time. It's in its time.
Josh, tell us. Validate us. Tell us we're right.
Oh, I agree completely.
Okay, you were being quiet. I didn't know if you were about to drop a bomb on us.
So I've talked to sources around Manville. No, Derek King, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like we just do this where King is a highly gifted runner and has some debatable skills as a passer. Is good, but not of the level that Oklahoma is accustomed to. And now we're going to throw him into the mix. And you're not questioning Austin Kendall this time. You're debating the guy that has been pretty much your tailor-made future quarterback since you started recruiting him as a sophomore. Like, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other deal. I haven't seen the guy play one down yet. Well, I've seen him play a couple downs. He hasn't started a game yet. I think right now I'd take Spencer Rattler over Derek King.
Yes.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Guys,
yeah, I would.
If you were going to pick next year's All Big 12 first-team quarterback, who would you pick?
I'm not taking Spencer Sanders because
you want me to say Sam Ehlinger, don't you?
He's back.
I would take Rattler, and I wouldn't think twice about it.
Really?
I would
just straight up. You know who the power play is going to be, and I already saw him in the top 10. I wasn't high on him going into the year, but I'm going to give him another try next year. Iowa State.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy. Isn't it kind of a put up or shut up year for him? I thought he was
put up or shut up year for everybody in that program.
Iowa State.
Yeah. Iowa State, you keep getting like all these predictions of the team that could win it all. You don't ever even play in the game, and then you win 8 games, and then you get your asses kicked in the bowl game by Notre Dame. Like, how good are you really?
I don't know about year after year. I thought 2 years ago they were a little ahead of where everybody thought they were going to be because their quarterback situation was such a mess. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it looked great in Norman, but it wasn't ready for, prime time. This year I thought there was a lot of hype, and it was like everybody forgot they probably lost their 2 best players. Like, Devin Montgomery was really good, and I don't think most people recognized it. And they had to replace, I think, 3 offensive linemen. To me, I don't think there's a bigger tell. And I mean, this may be my bias. I don't think there's a bigger tell of when a team that everybody is like, oh, well, they finished really strong, they might be good next year, than when they lose a big chunk of their offensive line. Like, that is so hard for 95% of college football to replace, because it's just there's a continuity to it. There are those guys are hard to find. I mean, it's just really, really hard to carry that over when you're having to rebuild your whole offensive front.
Do you think – I'm trying to just – it's so long – such a long way to go and to project what's going to happen. But January 15th, what are your initial reactions of Oklahoma State and what they should be in a year? I mean, they had a great offseason. You get Casey Dunn to stay around. You
want to talk about pressure.
Chuba Hubbard to stay around.
Mm-hmm.
Tylan Wallace to come back. Spencer Sanders, if he doesn't make that jump, like –
and he's the key to it all.
You better play in Arlington next year. That's if you're an Oklahoma State fan, you have to think they have to play in Arlington. There's no other option out there.
And I know there's going to be a lot of fighting between OU and OSU fans.
I think it's going to be. It's good. That's
it's good.
good.
I love it. I'm here for it, as the kids say in Eddie. But here's the thing: like, this is the one argument that you always have. Yeah, they had all those guys, and they lost to Texas Tech, who was 4-8 last year. And it's because Spencer Sanders' ball security is worse than Jalen Hurts, which is shocking to say, but absolutely true.
You're not wrong. And I thought Oregon State came on a little bit. That's going to be an interesting a season opening game for them. I mean, if it was in Corvallis, it'd be totally different. But I think that's a more interesting game than some people think. And then you look, they have to go at TCU, at Oklahoma, at Baylor, at Kansas State. I mean, that's 4 serious road games in the Big 12. Now, they don't have to go to Lubbock, which has always been a real problem for them. But I like a lot of what they have coming back, Carey. I mean, and I know it's not what you're saying. I think they are a more worthy contender to Oklahoma next year than Texas was this year that everybody tried to make.
Because Oklahoma State can play defense.
Yep. Oh, I can't say his name, the Ogbungamiga guy, he's outstanding. And Trace Ford's a dude. He just is. And he'll only be better with a year, to improve.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of those guys that Oklahoma wishes they got a little bit more involved in.
Yeah, he's not great for my argument.
Well, Harvell Peel's a really good player, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you throw in, like, I would imagine, I don't know what Kansas State has coming back next year, but I would imagine just the way that he runs that program, they're going to be a good team. I don't know if they're a great team by any means. I do think Baylor takes a step back, which we can kind of talk about it as far as kind of interesting what their coaching search has turned into.
Now, they're losing Lynch. Did they lose Lockhart, too, at Baylor?
I think he already announced.
No, Lockhart was a senior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then he announced something as it was
I
like
think
one
they
of
just
those
put out one of those thank you for
thank you,
everything you've done.
Goodbye post or whatever.
Or are you guys talking about Lockhart or are you talking about Lynch?
Well, Lynch already
Lockhart.
Yeah, Lynch announced.
Lynch announced.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Lockhart was done yet or not. So
yeah. He had 2 years at A&M and redshirted in 2017 and then played the last 2.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with their coaching. I mean, if they hire,
I think a lot of Baylor's success this year, obviously, I think got to credit Matt Rule, but it helped that they had so many seniors on that team that had kind of been through everything, tough, physical. They just kind of grinded a lot of games out.
If they go out and pay Fuente $7 million like they were Rule, that's a huge mistake.
I don't think they'll spend that much money. Like, I know that they have it, but I guess if you're Fuente, you try and negotiate shit out of that.
Well, I mean, if you're Fuente, you're making that move. You're making that move because you're on the run.
Yeah.
You don't go from Virginia Tech to Baylor.
No.
I mean, Virginia Tech is not. They've backtracked over the last couple years.
Well, he had that great first year, and you thought, okay, this guy's really going to be a guy. And I think we're all starting to learn that maybe Memphis is just a better job than we realize it is.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much talent right there. And I think Mike Norvell's really good. I think Mike Norvell might be a little different, but I still think that's, I guess I'd say that's a better job than everybody realizes because, like I said, Memphis is one of those areas you don't really have to leave a 100-mile radius, and you can pretty much fill up your roster.
They've got speed too. I mean, just everywhere.
If Fuente goes to Baylor, does McGuire stay on staff, or does that get too weird? And how much of a divide would that be with the players?
I bet that's the first person he hires and makes it known
Or
that this is the first
for
person I'm
sure.
hiring. Yeah. If you're McGuire, why wouldn't you stay, though?
Tell you what.
I don't think from what you guys tell me, he doesn't seem like he has such an ego that he'd just be like, oh, I can't stay here. This is too awkward now.
No,
Well, you have to remember his son plays there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Didn't even think about that. Shit, if Baylor didn't keep him around and I'm Lincoln Riley, I can't make that phone call fast enough.
To McGuire?
Yes.
I agree completely.
Absolutely.
I would be trying to find a way to make, we're going to come on, be support staff for a year, and we will find a spot for you,
I'll chip in $50,000 of my own money.
Yep.
Come, follow me.
There is no telling how wide he could open some doors in Texas for Oklahoma.
Man, you have a lot of money, Eddie.
Well, I'm talking Lincoln Riley money.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, I'm talking Odell Beckham money. It's just fake cash.
It's just fake,
Monopoly.
though.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't
Cool.
real.
Although Joe Burrow did go on PMT, I guess, this morning. I haven't listened to the interview, and said that it was real money. He got real money in the locker room from Odell Beckham.
Really?
Oh,
Well, and then I guess he bought their jerseys for, people's jerseys for like ridiculous amounts of money. I guess now LSU's trying to say, well, they were transactions to buy jerseys.
yeah, he bought Jefferson's.
And somebody
Definitely
else too.
heard that.
I was joking with somebody yesterday that, can you imagine, and I hate that we keep beating up on him, but can you imagine the OU compliance office if Adrian Peterson was down on the field after a game handing out cash to people?
Would not
OU
go
would have
well.
already returned
my
the
God.
title trophy.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to beat up. I don't want to beat up on compliance too much because
In a way, they are doing their job.
they're
but
doing their job, and it's not OU's place to cheat because they think other people cheat, and that's not the way they run. But to sit here and blame OU's compliance on why OU couldn't be better, that's not only just like blaming the refs for losing a game. That's basically being complicit in, like, people want us to, when I see and I'm air quoting, news outlets, try and say that, well, OU's compliance is, just overreaching, overbearing. Like, so you're saying that they should be able to cheat, but they're not going to. Like, that's ridiculous. So we don't need to get in the business of criticizing OU's compliance department because they're doing it the right way. Because for us to say otherwise, it's just like, yeah, we think cheating is fine. Like, and you know what? We'll do other things to be able to get the news or whatever we have to do in our daily jobs. We'll cheat ourselves. Like, you have to have some standards. You have to have some ethics. OU has some standards. And I'm sorry if that means that the bagmen don't run free, but that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't ever want to hear somebody, and somebody asked me the question. I'm never going to say, someone asked me the legit question like, can you tell me more about what OU's compliance does that hurts OU football? My answer is going to be, they do their job. They do their job. They're not hurting OU football.
No, I think that's why.
To look at it that way is to say you support being a fucking cheater.
No, I think that's why at the end of the day, this discussion about like how frustrated the Oklahoma fan base is, they are at a breaking point where they're just saying, screw it, pay everyone. We don't care how you get it done.
We have had
pay these motherfuckers.
Blue chips.
We have had so much more discussion on our message boards where people are openly talking about bagmen.
Somebody has started a
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe account.
I didn't see this.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's just blatant. I mean, obviously that money would never get to a player. That's somebody that is maybe kind of smart running in their own racketeering scheme. But
no kidding.
Like,
why would you put any money in that account?
yeah, you fools. You fools.
Just
don't
send
do
it
that.
to my Venmo if you really want to get rid
Exactly.
of money.
Like,
Guys,
yeah.
the thing I'll say, like, and I agree completely. Like, you can't have Joe Castiglione walk into compliance and be like, listen, we got to do some things here. You guys are going to have to just turn a blind eye. Like that's never going to happen. That's just not possible.
Sure.
But at the same time, when you see a guy like Gabe Eichert getting in trouble for pasta consumption or things like that, or Carey, when we've had issues taking pictures at on-campus events,
Still
can't
that's
do it.
still there. Yeah.
And yet at a game, Odell Beckham is literally on camera where there are hundreds of media around with video cameras and photo cameras, and he is just shamelessly handing out hundreds of dollars in front of everyone. And there is an ongoing investigation into a guy that stole money from sick patients to give to recruits within the LSU program.
Verified it was over $180,000.
Yes. And this is something, it's not like a rumor. He got convicted for it.
Yeah.
This happened. And there's nothing being done. I can understand a fan's frustration with, like, why are we trying to follow the rules here? Nobody else is doing it.
And I'm not saying the fans can't be critical that, they wish OU didn't have a compliance department, because that's what, that's how you should probably feel as a fan. I'm just saying us as an organization, we're not getting into this is how the compliance department hurts OU, because that is fanboy bullshit that I'm not allowing us to be involved in.
I don't necessarily disagree. Like I said, it's just one of those things where it feels at times like there are just things that you're like, is that important? Do we need to worry that much about that?
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. Just as far as I think there are some things that you could probably not necessarily. I'm not saying turn a blind eye to, but
sure.
The pasta thing is just ridiculous.
Look, we've had this. I mean, we've had to bow up against the compliance department in the past. I have personally. Yeah. I mean, Josh remembers this. I was driving to my radio show during summer camps one time, and I got a call from someone at OU that said, "You have committed a secondary violation by covering and posting pictures of student athletes on our campus during camps, and we need you to take that all down." And I said, well, I'm not going to radio today. I'm turning my car around, and I'm going straight to OU and tell them that they're f***ing nuts. And so I've basically forced OU. I said, we're not taking this down, and your compliance department needs to get in contact with the NCAA and get an interpretation of the bylaw that you think that you're applying in this case, because I don't think you're interpreting it correctly. And the bylaw was, which I know almost by heart, which is OU is not allowed to publicize a recruit or a student athlete when they are visiting campus on an official visit.
Correct.
Which means, to me, means OU can't come out and say, hey,
put him on the video board.
Here's Adrian Peterson. Everyone recognize him. Say hello. Give him a $100 handshake while you're at it. I mean, like, that's what that rule to me means. It doesn't mean when someone's there at a summer camp at a public setting that other people can go to that you can't take a picture of him.
When other fans will.
Yeah, when other and so they came back and they said, okay, you're fine. Like, we had to challenge him. So I understand that they can sometimes be overreaching. At the same time, handing out 20s to recruit or to players on the field after a game, that's a totally different thing. That's not interpreting a bylaw. That's just cheating and ignoring it.
And it's just, the funny part about it is it's so blatant. Like, there's hundreds of cameras out there on the field of a national championship game. Kidding?
And I mean, it's also the thing, like, okay, so you have analysts. You have, like, Austin Woods. He's an analyst. He's not an assistant coach. Like, you have people monitoring whether or not he's actively coaching kids at practice. Like, you're not supposed to do that. But a lot of schools get away with doing that. Now, that's a gray area, but that's still compliance's job to say, everyone knows that's the rule. Like, You're not an assistant. You're an analyst. You're not able to coach Chip Viney. You're not able to coach people on the field. Now, do they talk to him in the offices? Do they maybe sometimes yell at? Like, there was that thing with KU. You guys remember that last year or whatever, when they gotten some GA? Like, it was 2 years ago. They were withholding David Beatty's bonuses or something because they said he committed NCAA violations, embarrassed the program. And one of the violations was that his analysts were coaching players during practice. And so, like, the Lawrence Star, like, got video of Les Miles practices, and his analysts were coaching the players on the field, like in special teams and stuff. So, like, he was doing the same thing. It's just stuff like that, you know, I'm sorry. You can't just turn a blind eye when everybody knows what the rules are. The problem is everyone's responsible for their own compliance department, and LSU clearly doesn't have a very good compliance department.
They already said they had an athletic official say it was fake. Not like some random player or something, but an athletic department official say it was fake money. Literally come out and say that on the record.
And I screenshotted a picture of that kid taking that money, who damn sure did not think that was fake money he was getting handed.
No.
That was a dude on Christmas morning.
I love it. Just
I love
why
the
would Odell
willful,
Beckham be walking around with fake money anyway? Where would Odell Beckham go get fake money?
that's the best part is like, what?
Shoot bucks.
God.
He's handing out shrewd bucks on the field.
I mean, that would be an ultimate power play if he was, but
What if do you think LSU's athletic department has been making up money with Odell Beckham's face on it, like he's a North Korean dictator? Like,
You know,
and
it
just
would-
say, no, this is what he was handing
That'd be
out, like
awesome.
3 days after the fact.
It would be a genius subversive move to start doing that. And then they're like, and so then every time LSU actually is cheating, they're like, no, that was more of the fake money. We've been, you guys, we've been doing this. We've been joking around with this for a while. We hand out fake money to all our people. And then they can just shut it, like it gets lost in the wash of all the dollar bills, which ones are actually real and which ones are fake.
and then Jacob Phillips is like, what? They gave me a check.
I had to cash that damn thing.
I will say there was always a rumor going around that the day after OU won the national championship, that Josh Heupel got into an elevator and a doctor just gave him $10,000. Just right
think I've
there
ever
on
heard
the
that.
spot.
I've never heard that one.
That's awesome.
I mean,
get back to those days.
Josh didn't have a great game that day. I feel like you didn't get your return on your investment for $10,000. That really was a defensively driven win there. What did Roy get?
And, you know, inflation, kids. If you win a national championship, what could be waiting for you?
Exactly. No, I mean, I agree, Carey. Like, most of the stuff, like, you can't fault people for doing their job well. It's just amazing. And the NCAA has got to realize that these compliance departments are operating at very different levels.
Yes, it's not equal across the board. Every school is in charge of not only forming their own compliance department, but running their own compliance department. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that all of them are completely independent of the athletic department like OU's is. So, yeah, I'm sure the SEC, they don't have a lot of compliance directors of the SEC functions where they all get together and discuss how to be compliance directors.
It's kind of like the old, I don't know if it's a saying, but I think there's a long belief that, you know, the reason why Ole Miss doesn't, or, you know, Georgia doesn't go running to tell about Ole Miss is because everybody's laundry
got
would
dirt.
be,
Yeah,
everybody
got
has
skeletons
dirt on
in the
everybody.
closet, yeah. Hey, let's talk about Junior Day coming up, Josh. I know there's not, a whole lot concrete stuff out there, and kind of trying to figure out how big this is even going to be and who's really going to be involved in this thing. But just kind of talk a little bit about the dead period, what's been going on, when it opens up, kind of what that will mean for recruiting, kind of moving forward with Oklahoma.
Well, I'm going to fall to Bob because Bob is my calendar guy. Bob, the period's tomorrow, right?
It goes through the 16th, so my interpretation means it'll start Friday the 17th, and
At
will
12 o'clock,
will
whatever.
DeAndre be on campus for his visit? I don't know.
That is the question. What Bob's talking about for those that didn't listen last week. DeAndre Butler, the defensive lineman from Independence Community College, which I kind of hate that his name is Butler because I always want to say
Butler.
Butler
Yes.
Community. I get crossed up every time. But no, to the last of my knowledge, he is still expected in this weekend. I don't know if it's just my intuition, just something telling me to keep checking on this all through the week and kind of see what actually happens. But yeah, he obviously Alfred Collins, the defensive lineman from the Austin area. Those are the two guys that are still clear targets. There's been some talk of Brady Ward, an offensive lineman that Oklahoma has kind of been off and on with through the, really throughout his recruitment. But once they landed Aaron Parks, it was kind of thought, okay, this is all over now. But I'm wondering if maybe, a spot has opened up or if they're just kind of entertaining the idea of another offensive lineman. There's some talk of him taking a visit on that last weekend. But I would say that's even more flimsy than the Butler situation right now. So we'll kind of see what happens with that. But, leading into the junior day, I kind of expected this to be a big deal. But I can tell you, talking to a lot of sources, there haven't been many people invited. I have yet to come across more than 2 or 3 that are like, yeah, I think I'm going to be there. I know people are like, why isn't there a list, Josh? Colin Montgomery is the only
one.
I'm sure
he keeps putting it out there. He put it out there again today. Cannot wait.
He's tweeted it 2 or 3 times. And don't get me wrong, there will be other guys there. I know it. I just can't figure out who they are. I can tell a story. I talked to Bryce Foster, the 5-star offensive lineman, also from the Houston area, and he was like, I didn't even know one was happening this weekend. So, and before anybody, remember who his recruiter is. It's Bill Bedenbow. Don't get, OU's gone to sleep. It's not that. There's something else happening, and I haven't figured out what it is yet. I don't know if they're just keeping it really small and they're trying to build a little momentum. Maybe they can, hoping they land a couple guys. I don't know exactly what the answer is, but there's something that's bigger in play there that I have not figured out yet.
And we're coming to a strange time, too, because it's the first year ever. The month of February doesn't exist in the recruiting calendar. And I don't know how that's going to change things.
That is going to be interesting just because it's just like the signing day was. It's so different. But I think it's probably for the best because I feel like everything in February is – there's a lot of, there's junior days and there's this and there's that and there's all this chaos and it fizzles. It's not usually as big a deal as you want to believe it is. So I think it's probably going to work out well for a lot of people that maybe there's a little bit of a breather and then things pick up in March. And I've had people ask me, how many commitments do you think Oklahoma have in 2021 by the spring game? I would bet it's 5 or 6 to go with the 2, including the 2 they have now. So that's about the number I'm working with. So I think you're going to see some action here over the next, 60 days or so. I'm not certain of who those guys will be just yet because I think Oklahoma, you're seeing it. I mean, they've made 15 offers in the last 10 days. I mean, they're starting to pick up steam. They're clearly going through some evaluations. They're making decisions. What our numbers have to look like, who we want for these positions, what kind of players we're looking for. You're seeing all those things starting to come together, and now Oklahoma's making those offers, and then they can really start recruiting and working on these guys.
And then, Josh, we sort of hinted throughout the show, but Joe Brady's gone. Caleb Williams, of course, looked like LSU lean, 5-star quarterback for the 2021 class. Is now the time when OU must strike?
I think it absolutely is. I mean, that was – you really hope that in some way or form, or I guess if you're an Oklahoma fan, you hope that Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams were on the phone last night as, Joe Brady was boarding his flight to Charlotte. So it's one of those situations where this is a big deal for Oklahoma, and it really opens a door that was I don't know if they were going to be able to make it work with Joe Brady on the staff at LSU. But this changes a lot of that situation. That was the guy that he was really familiar with, really had bought into, that guy being the reason Joe Burrow became Joe Burrow. And now it comes back to, well, who's done anything close to what Lincoln Riley has in the college game as far as quarterback development? And then, you throw in, guys, we talk about the reasons to pick Spencer Rattler. That's another one. You pick Rattler, okay, buddy, you're going to, you play this year, and then you might have to sit 1 year, and then there's a good chance you're the guy because Rattler's going to be gone. He'll have 2 years as a starter and, could be looking at a big NFL contract. So there's a lot of reasons that makes a lot of sense, and that's another one. But I think this is a big deal for OU and Caleb Williams and probably gives them the chance that they needed to really make him rethink where he has everything.
Anything that you've heard over the last week on Alfred Collins, of interest?
No, it's actually been kind of quiet. I still think I think the Matt Rule thing pretty much ends Baylor, and I can tell you, going into the first signing day, I thought it was OU and Baylor. I didn't think Texas was a real threat. I still think this change that Texas is making defensively actually hurts them.
God, they're still hiring people. I mean, that's just,
I know.
Well, when you clear out your entire staff,
Jesus.
I mean, they basically cleared everybody out except for the head coach.
Yeah.
So things are going well in Austin.
Well,
Wasn't his fault.
It's like a poker hand where you're like, you're playing draw, and it's like, I'm going to give 4. I think you just got a shitty hand. Maybe just wipe the cupboard bare here. But no, I still think if I was going to pick right now, I think it's Oklahoma. I think that relationship with Calvin Thibodeau is huge. I know all the connections to Texas, and it won't stun me if that's the way this thing goes. I'm not saying it's a done deal or anything like that. I think this kid is genuinely still pretty open to Oklahoma and Texas. I don't see him going to Alabama. I just don't think he'll go that far away, and I think the relationship isn't there to make it doesn't make as much sense for him to go that far. I think with Oklahoma, he likes them so much, he knows them so well that he's a little more willing to get away from home for that. As to where Alabama, he just doesn't know them in the same way because, like I said, they kind of cooled on him down the stretch and now have kind of tried to kick it back in gear, and I don't know if he's a kid that's going to receive that well.
All right. Anything else? Any other business? Oklahoma loses last night to KU. Wasn't good.
Wasn't good. Austin Reeves. This is going to make Carey happy.
Don't you say it.
Reeves has not played well the last couple of games. I don't know if it's the Big 12 grind is catching up to him. He's realizing this is a lot different.
He's played 3 games. It better not be the grind.
Or
4 games.
He just did not look like himself whatsoever. Manic missed a lot of gimmies that he basically said, is I usually make those. And that felt like 2 years ago when Baker came back for the Texas game and they brought the Heisman Trophy, and OU couldn't shoot at home. Yeah. OU doesn't know how to shoot well at home. It makes no sense.
Well, time to blow up Lloyd Noble and build a new arena.
I've been saying that for years.
They've tried to do that.
Maybe that's Austin Reeves' power play. He's trying to help the program out in the long term.
Didn't get voted.
How was Top Dog received?
Good. I thought it was
good.
good.
Any good antics last night or anything?
No, nothing.
Really?
Nothing that comes to mind. I think it was like one of those things that everything was good until the game started, and then it was just like,
Okay.
I mean, even when it was a 4-point game at halftime, it was like, I mean, they're like combined 2 for 10 from behind the arc. I don't know. It was just weird. The college basketball as a whole, just I think it's because we're a little spoiled with the NBA and everything, but it's just kind of a tough product to watch right now. Like, and teams are average. Oklahoma State is averaged. I think I heard this right, but OSU plays Texas tonight. You know what? Those 2 teams are ranked nationally in scoring offense on the basketball court.
They both got to be around 40 a game, like between 40 and 50 a game scoring.
200s?
293.
Okay, no, almost
299.
Okay, almost 300.
Oklahoma State has averaged 43 points a game in their first 3 Big 12 conference games. 43. I mean, Bill Self last night was talking about Kansas scored 66, and
he felt like they were on fire.
Yeah, like
was like,
that was like
an explosion.
He had some pretty funny comments last night.
Yes,
the one about Billy Tubbs falling asleep, and well, you got to be funny and charming when the FBI's breathing down your neck.
Yeah, it's just really weird.
But yeah, you had Reeves, Doolittle, Manic go 10 for 43, and we've talked last few weeks. Need at least 2 of those 3 to be playing at a high level, and they got 0 out of those 3. I know Doolittle kept pushing. I mean, he didn't shy away from his shots, but 13 and 10, that can't be the leader if you're going to try to beat Kansas. And when you don't have Dotson playing, there's just a missed chance.
A little bit about missed opportunity.
Yep.
I think, you said it.
I keep thinking that Jamal Bieniemy is about to come out of his funk, but it's just flashes.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't want to try to be that guy. He's very content being in the background, and that's going to have to change if he's going to make a leap anytime throughout the rest of the season.
All right, Josh, Bob, any family updates you want to give us before we get out of here? Don't want to deprive you of family talk time.
No,
if there's anything.
Just
Lainey got a big report card, did well, got her new book.
All
So
A's?
she's not stupid?
Eddie, this is a new thing. There's hardly
Don't.
any such thing as ABC.
Jesus
it's like
Christ.
Are
This
they
is-
on
I
level?
saw
Are they
the
at
tweet
level?
earlier.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
I saw the tweet.
look at that.
Don't seek out that tweet, Eddie. It'll
That
trigger
is
you.
that's where you'll get me olds. I just don't understand that.
What were there there's 11 different categories now?
Whoa.
Now
I
that
just
one,
I just remember getting S's for satisfactory when I was this young.
Oh,
was a big
Satisfactory
U guy.
is
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Got some incompletes in college, mainly during
Eddie,
baseball season.
I'm going to send you the one that Anwar sent out. There's like 13 different qualifications on his kids' report.
Oh, for his
card.
kids?
Yeah, it was insane. Like mine was only like,
And it's
like
so
mine
bad.
was numeric.
It's so bad they don't even want to give you credit for getting an A. Like A is not considered it's not like excellence. It's like at average. It's
Yeah,
like
on/above level.
If we make them feel
Level.
too good, it will make other kids feel bad. Like that's
They have
where
an-
we are.
They have an M for mastery.
I'm
That's
looking at this now. This
That's
is
what we're striving
crazy.
for, man. We're striving for mastery.
At or on average, is that what A says?
We are ruining our children.
Good
Lainey, not surprisingly, she really excels in the science. She's like her mama. Tiffany's got 7 science degrees, so she she works in that capacity. But apparently didn't get any of her history or her reading from her dad, so I don't know about that.
World needs ditch diggers too.
Hey.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Unofficial 40. Appreciate it, guys, as always. Josh, Eddie, Bob. I am Carey, and we'll see you guys back here next week for another edition of the MidFirst Bank. Remember, midfirst.com/U40. Go apply for that OU Rewards credit card. The MidFirst Bank Unofficial 40 podcast from SoonerScoop.com.